the year New Year's Eve almost didn't happen. It was the day before New Year's Eve, and in the bustling little town of Tinseltop, excitement was in the air. The clock tower chimed merrily, and people hung up glittering decorations. Everyone was getting ready for the big countdown, everyone except one very grumpy character, Mr. Clockwinder. Mr. Clockwinder was in charge of setting the town's giant clock for the new year. But this year, he wasn't feeling it. "What's the point of all this counting and shouting?" he muttered to himself. "New Year's Eve is overrated. This year, I'm taking a break." And so, he decided not to set the clock for the midnight countdown. "The panic begins," word spread quickly. "No countdown?" cried little Millie Muffin, who loved shouting, "Happy New Year," at the top of her lungs. "No fireworks?" gasped Mr. Spark, the town's firework maker. "No confetti cannon?" groaned Old Man Fluffernuck, who owned a confetti factory. The whole town buzzed with worry. How could they celebrate without the countdown? A silly solution. That's when a group of kids, Leo, Tilly, and Max, decided to take matters into their own hands. "We can fix this," said Leo, the brains of the group. "We just need to convince Mr. Clockwinder that New Year's Eve is awesome." "But how?" asked Max, who always carried a bag of snacks. "He's like a grumpy bear in a sweater." "Then we'll make him laugh," declared Tilly, the town's funniest kid. "No one can stay grumpy when they're laughing." The New Year's parade. The kids organized a surprise New Year's parade just for Mr. Clockwinder. They dressed up as silly characters. Leo was a walking clock with arms that spun uncontrollably. Tilly was a giant sparkler, but her costume kept shooting out glitter at random moments. Max was a dancing cupcake because, well, why not? They marched straight to Mr. Clockwinder's house, banging pots and pans. "Dong dong dong! We're the New Year parade," they shouted. Mr. Clockwinder peeked out from his window, scowling. "Go away," he said. "I'm busy not caring." The midnight mishap. Not one to give up, the kids decided to take things up a notch. They built their own countdown clock, using Max's mom's old bicycle, an egg timer, and way too much duct tape. They wheeled it into the town square and announced, "We'll do the countdown ourselves." The whole town gathered, laughing at the wobbly contraption. 10, 9, they began. But then, bang! The clock exploded in a puff of glitter and spaghetti noodles. A heartwarming twist. Mr. Clockwinder, who had secretly followed the parade to see what the fuss was about, couldn't help but laugh. Spaghetti noodles? On a clock? That's the silliest thing I've ever seen. The kids spotted him and cheered. "We did it! We made him laugh." Mr. Clockwinder sighed and smiled. All right. Maybe New Year's Eve isn't so bad after all." He marched to the clock tower and set the big clock just in time for the real countdown. The best New Year ever. As the clock struck midnight, fireworks filled the sky, and everyone cheered, "Happy New Year!" Even Mr. Clockwinder joined in, throwing confetti like a pro. Tilly's sparkler costume went off again, covering everyone in glitter, and Max handed out cupcakes to the crowd. From that day on, Mr. Clockwinder was known as the biggest New Year's Eve fan in Tinseltop. And the kids? They became the town's official New Year parade organizers, spaghetti clocks and all. And so, the town of Tinseltop celebrated the happiest, silliest New Year ever. The end.